Hi, and welcome to Stories Build Businesses, the show that proves your story isn't just something to tell, it's a strategy that builds a business that's uncopyable, unforgettable, and unmistakably you. I'm Megan Wright, story and strategy coach, and today we're exploring how your story can show your originality. In the online world, it can often feel like everyone's doing the same thing. There's another coach, another strategist, another copywriter, another designer, all using the same language, serving the same people, and offering the same offers, power hours, VIP days. And it's easy to look around and think, what is the point? Why would anyone choose me when there are so many other people doing something similar? But that's only true if you believe that originality is just about what you do, and it's not. Originality is about who you are while you do it. Originality isn't found in your niche, it's found in your story, in the way that your lived experience shapes how you think, work, and create. Offline, we accept this without question. You'd never see a town with one cafe and think that there's no room for another, because each one will have its own atmosphere, menu, and different people will feel at home there. So why in the online world do we forget that our difference doesn't just come from the category that we're working in? It comes from our character, from who we are. Because the truth is, somebody else will have your niche. They might even have your qualifications. They might have a similar audience or use similar methods, but they'll never have your story. And when you start to build from that, when you let your story shape your business, that's when originality becomes effortless. You can't strategize your way into originality. You can only remember your way into it. Your originality is already there. It's not something you choose. It's about becoming self-aware and knowing what your originality is. It starts in the care pillar, in understanding who you are, what you value, and how your lived experience shapes the lens that you see business through. Most people skip that and go straight to, how do I stand out? And they end up with surface level differentiation. And for a moment, they will stand out. They'll have louder branding, bolder claims, clever taglines. But those things don't last because the trend will change and that difference will disappear. True originality lasts because it's anchored in who you actually are. And that's timeless. The way I think of it is that you don't build originality by trying to be different. You build it by knowing why you are the way you are. The most original businesses aren't created by people chasing trends. They're built by people who genuinely understand themselves. And when you know yourself deeply, when you understand the experiences that have shaped you, you stop competing on surface level similarities. Because the work you do becomes an expression of your worldview. You're not just selling a power hour, you're selling your version of a power hour. A version that is unique to your way of thinking. And that's the shift from business owner to thought leader. It's when your work stops being about what you do and starts being about who you are expressed through what you do. This is the foundation of everything else. Because once you build from care, you can connect with confidence and can create offers with clarity. But if you skip this part, the rest is really wobbly. When I talk about care, connect, and create, originality sits right at the center of care. Because care is about awareness. It's about knowing your story, your values, and your version of success before you try to market or build anything. So, how do you use your story to unlock originality? There's a really simple way to start. The first step is to identify your influences. These are the moments, the lessons, the environments that shaped how you work and how you think. Those experiences aren't random. They're the DNA for your business. The next step is to distill those experiences so that there's a clear thread running through them. What is it that ties them together? How do they explain the way you think and the things that you value? The next step is to know your point of view. What is it that you want to change? What is it in your niche or your industry that you want to do differently? That's where your originality starts to become visible because you're no longer echoing the same things as everybody else. And finally, you build from it. Once you're clear on that foundation, you can let it shape everything in your business. Your offers, your client processes, your branding. Because the more your business reflects who you are, the less you'll need to spend time differentiating yourself, because the difference will already be obvious. When you build from your story, originality stops being something you chase and it becomes something that you embody. Think of it like a story-led path to originality. Care is the starting point. It holds your story, your values, your strengths, and your why. Connect is the bridge. It's how you share that with other people and how you link what you've experienced to what they need support with. And create is the way that you build. It's how that awareness becomes the offers, the frameworks, and the ideas that only you could have created. And I know doing it this way isn't easy. It's far simpler to just look around, copy what works, and tweak it until it fits you. It's quicker, it's a lot less vulnerable, but the problem is that it's also a lot more forgettable. Because when you build from that imitation, you become invisible. Not only to other people, but you'll start to feel invisible to yourself. Originality needs depth, and the online world often rewards speed. So it's hard to slow down and say, this is who I am, this is what I believe, and this is what matters to me. And it can feel vulnerable and exposing because once you show people who you are, you can't hide behind trends anymore. But it's also freeing because it allows you to be who you are and build a business that's sustainable and works for you and with your brain. You won't need to reinvent yourself every 6 months. You won't burn out trying to keep up, and you won't dilute your message for mass appeal. Because the people who resonate with your business, with your story, the people who recognize themselves in it, they will stay and they will be drawn to working with you. Here's what I'd love you to take away from today. Originality isn't something you find outside of yourself. It's something you uncover from within yourself. Your story, the experiences, the lessons, the perspectives only you have, that's your fingerprint. That's the DNA of your business. So take a moment today to think about it. What have I lived that shapes how I lead? What do I believe that others in my field don't say out loud? And how can I let that belief show up more clearly in what I build next? Because when you start there, with care, with awareness, your originality will become your natural state. And everything else you do, the connections you make, the things you build, will grow from that. And if this episode resonated, I'd love you to share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And come tell me over on Instagram at Stories Build Businesses. See you next time. Bye.